my name is Elisa, and here I share all my weekend getaways. And this one I was actually waiting for to share for a while. Even though it's June outside, we're gonna talk about my winter February getaway to Aspen, Colorado. So before we dive in, click subscribe and let's go. Tip number one, flights. I booked my flight from Philly to Denver. It was about under $200, and I booked it about like a month in advance. And I also know one of my friends, he was flying from DC and he took Frontier. It was even cheaper. So yes, considering the huge distance between the two states, the tickets are pretty much decent. Definitely try to book them in advance, but if not, again, 1 month in advance wasn't as bad. I booked my seat next to the window, and I recommend you to do that as well because the views are gorgeous. You look down, then there's like just fields, and then it starts to get like mountainish, and then you see like the full white mountains, and it's absolutely beautiful. Absolutely recommend take the window seat when you're flying to Denver. Tip number two, you have to rent a car. If you haven't been to Denver, it's literally like just fields and fields, and you do need a car to move around the city, even just the city in general. And if you go to the winter resorts, you do need a car because they're about like 3 hours away. Like the good like big mountains are 3 hours away of drive, so you do need a car if you're trying to go out of the city to enjoy the winter resorts. Second of all, like it also gives you options to make your trip cheaper. If you're not planning on staying just in one resort, sleep, eat, do whatever there, definitely get a car because you need to get to your Airbnbs. What we did, we actually booked 2 resorts, one day in Breckenridge and one day in Aspen. So we had this flexibility of trying which resort we like more. And yeah, it just gives you like more flexibility in general, do whatever you want. And reason number 3 why you need a car is because you need to store your rental equipment somewhere, and car is the best place because you don't really want to move it in and out all the time, and then how are you gonna move it to the resort? So exactly, you do need a car, like, period. Tip number 3, not necessarily a tip but maybe a recommendation. In Denver, we stayed the night, and there was not much time that we had to do in Denver. It was already pretty much late, but we decided to go to a dispensary because, you know, it's an experience, and it was definitely my first time going into a dispensary. And it was interesting. Like, first you come to this like place which looks like a little bit like jail because there's security, there's gates, there's like code. Like, what is going on? Like, am I doing something illegal? Which is not. But then they check your ID, they ask you like a few questions, and there are like 2 doors. One is medical marijuana for 18 plus, and then recreational marijuana for 21 plus. So I definitely went into the 21, and you just tell the security, then he opens like the door for you. The door is pretty heavy, you have to like literally open it, and then you enter, and there's like a bunch of stations with a bunch of random absolutely stuff. I know nothing about it, but you come to the sales representative and you basically tell him how high are you trying to get, and what is the feeling that you're expecting if you don't know what you're looking for. And he's like, yeah, absolutely, I got you, we have this, we have that, blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh my god, like, this is so weird. Like, I'm sorry, it's just like coming from like such restricted like background, and the concept that marijuana is bad, drugs are bad, and she's like, yeah, just so chill about it, let's get you high, blah blah blah. Well, definitely experience, and even if you're not a smoker like me, just go for fun, go for the experience, because it's definitely like cultural shock, mental break. So as I said, we stayed in Denver the night and woke up pretty early, around like 4 a.m. And as I said, the trip is about 3 hours, and you want to get there early because most of the slopes operate from like 8:39 until 4. So actually check for whichever resort you're going the hours of operation, because you don't want to get there like at noon and ski for 4 hours and then that's over, because the ski passes are kind of expensive, I'm not gonna lie. The road trip is absolutely gorgeous. From Denver, we went first to Breckenridge and then to Aspen, but it's insane. And especially when you wake up, when it's like still pretty early in the morning and you get to see the sunrise coming up from the mountains. Absolutely beautiful. So definitely wake up early. I know it's hard. We woke up like 4 or 5 a.m. but it was absolutely worth it, and we were able to ski basically like the whole day. Didn't waste any of our time, and we also had to stop for breakfast and etc. So it's all gonna take time, so plan it in advance. Now, passes and rentals. Absolutely recommend, absolutely do that. Book them in advance online. First of all, the passes are cheaper online by about like 50 bucks. But rental, besides being cheap, or maybe not cheap, but you have to secure yourself a rental. Because what's the point of getting the ski passes if you don't have the snowboard or you don't have the ski? And promise you, if you go there during the season, winter, everything is booked. Everything is booked. So please don't waste your money. Book both the passes and the rentals so you know you have both. Our first stop was Breckenridge, and it was absolutely beautiful. The slopes were great. Definitely pricey on the end. I honestly don't know. Compared to Aspen, I don't have as many good words to say about Breckenridge. Breckenridge was definitely overcrowded, cheaper than Aspen, but when you go to Aspen, you kind of see why it's more expensive. First of all, the slopes are much better, even if you're a beginner, if you are like mediocre like me, or you're a professional. You have multiple variety of slopes for each level of experience you are. And it's actually very interesting because everyone starts at the same level at the top, which is usually like uncommon. We went to Mount Snow, so if that's where you're interested, but actually like everyone starts from the top and get to their way down to the bottom, so everyone gets to enjoy the same view in Aspen. Breckenridge is different. Now, I don't know, maybe because Aspen is definitely a bit more expensive, which just isn't, but there were no lines. You literally finish your ride and then you go on to the next one, and you don't have to wait like 20 minutes like in Breckenridge. So I definitely enjoyed Aspen way more, just because I think the money that we paid were definitely worth it. While in Breckenridge, some rides we had to wait in line and it was like pretty packed for like 20-30 minutes. So yeah, I always get annoyed at waiting, and I don't want to pay money for just like standing and doing nothing. So both resorts are pretty nice, both resorts worth it. I do still think that maybe overpaying for Aspen, definitely worth it, and maybe staying in that area would be actually like be the best recommendation for you. I mean, so overall we spent what, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we left Monday early morning. So here's what we spent during that weekend for car rental, hotels and Airbnbs, pass in Breckenridge, pass in Aspen, equipment rental, and just food and miscellaneous items. FYI, food is obviously gonna be a bit more pricey, on the range about like $15 per menu item, and this is going to be specifically in resorts. In Denver you can obviously find cheaper food options. You can always go grocery shopping and take this with you. So there are a bunch of alternatives how to make your trip either like more on a budget or more luxury and expensive, and just staying in Aspen because I wish I had money. I wish I could stay in a cabin in the mountain, but I'm a little bit too broke for this. But if you have the opportunity, definitely stay in Aspen because the resort there is absolutely gorgeous. In the description of this video, I attached all the links for all the companies that we used, where we find the passes, so definitely check it out. And if you liked it, click the like button, and if you still didn't subscribe, because you have to support small businesses, and yes, I am a small business. Well, thank you for watching, and I hope to show you my next getaway pretty soon.